It's mid-morning, shortly after the close of our last episode, when August Jensen made a shocking discovery about the death of Suzanne Barkley's mother. More of Gus Jansen in a few moments. Now, as Perry Mason and Della Street go to Della's apartment.
Wait. Okay, there's nobody in the hall.
Can't imagine why she sent for you.
Well, we'll see. Mrs. Barkley.
Mr. Mason. Oh, I went into the bedroom and I heard someone at the door. I didn't expect you so soon.
Well, I came as soon as Della told me you had phoned.
I really shouldn't have phoned.
No, you really shouldn't have. But since you did, what is it, Mrs. Barkley?
I'm afraid you aren't going to like this either, Mr. Mason, but haven't I done everything you and Lieutenant Halverson asked?
Why, yes.
Even when I didn't fully understand, even when you and the lieutenant didn't have time to explain, didn't I go ahead and follow your instructions?
Mm-hmm.
And I left all the arrangements to you and the lieutenant, didn't I? I didn't bother you with suggestions or anything, did I?
You have a suggestion now, Mrs. Barkley?
More than a suggestion, Mr. Mason. I'm going to do something.
What?
I'm going to my own funeral.
What?
Now, please don't object until I explain. I've thought it out carefully. Will you listen, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. My last services will be held in the chapel where my family has always gone. That's where you expect Suzanne to come.
Yes.
I believe you're right. And I believe I know what Suzanne will do. I believe she'll slip into the back of the chapel, stay through the services, and try to leave again to go back into hiding.
Yes, that's the natural thing for her to do.
It's what he would expect, too.
Who, Mrs.
That man who frightened her into running away.
Not unless he learns that you weren't killed.
How can you be so positive?
Because I have learned things about him. Gus is ruthless, and he's cruel. And it wouldn't occur to him that your daughter would risk coming to pay her last respects to you. The idea is entirely foreign to him.
But if he knows I'm alive...
Then he would put two and two together and come up with the right answer, if he learned the truth. We've done all we can to see that he doesn't.
Yes, but...
You thought of the same thing I have. You want to find her before she reaches the chapel.
Because if Gus has learned the truth, he'll be watching the chapel.
Yes.
He'll be watching and waiting. Waiting to...
Mrs. Barkley.
You said it could happen.
Yes, it's possible, but highly unlikely.
I've thought of a way to make certain. Miss Street, have you a bandana?
A bandana? Well, yes, there are several in my bureau.
Will you get one, please?
All right. Any particular color?
Any color, just so it's large enough.
Here it is, Mrs. Barkley.
Thank you. Now, does it completely cover my hair?
Well, just a minute. Yes, there, now it does.
All right. I'm going to turn my back and walk away from you. Try to see me as a stranger would see me.
All right.
Watch me walk away from you. Could you tell how old I am if you didn't know?
No. No, you could be any age, from 20 to, I'd say 40. You have a slim figure.
I knew it. I knew it. You've never seen Suzanne, but you remember her pictures. We look alike. If I wore the right makeup, we could pass for sisters. And if you saw me from a distance, you could easily mistake me for Suzanne. I'm going to do it, Mr. Mason. I can alter something of Miss Street's, and I'm going into that chapel.
But, Mrs. Barkley...
And if Gus is waiting, he'll see me. He'll think I'm Suzanne. If he's waiting to hurt her, he'll hurt me instead. And don't speak to me of danger. Remember what you said, Mr. Mason? You said there's only a slight chance he's learned the truth. But if he has, if he's waiting and he strikes at me, at least my daughter will be safe. He won't dare strike twice. Isn't that true?
You have thought about this.
Yes. Here alone, I've had time to think. Time to think what might happen if he is waiting. Time to think that if I hadn't spent so much time thinking about myself, if I'd given more time to Suzanne, she wouldn't have run away. I love my daughter, Mr. Mason. And I ask you to let me do this. But if you refuse, I tell you now I'm going to the chapel with or without your approval. I'm Suzanne's mother. This is my right. I'm going to do it.
Well, you don't leave me anything to say, Mrs. Barkley. If you're determined.
I am.
Della, phone Lieutenant Halverson. Tell him I must see him immediately.
Well, as you know, through no fault of Mason's, August Jansen does know the truth. And now, as Gus enters a large sporting goods establishment...
Oh, there they are.
Shasta Sporting Goods, Firearms Department. Oh, hello, Connie. How are you this morning, baby? Excuse me, Mr. Smith. There's a customer waiting, Mr. Smith. I'll speak to you later. No, I'll phone you. Can I help you, sir?
If you have time.
Why, yes, sir, of course. What can I do for you, sir?
I want to buy a rifle.
A rifle, yes, sir.
Well?
I'm waiting for you to tell me what type gun you want.
How do I know? You're the rifle expert, aren't you?
I know something about them, yes.
Okay, you tell me. I know about handguns, but I don't know anything about rifles.
Yes, sir. What type of game are you going to hunt? Or will you be using it for targeting?
For what?
Target practice.
I'm going hunting.
Yes, sir. Large game? Small?
Fairly large game.
A deer, perhaps, or...
That's it. Deer.
Yes, sir. If you plan to hunt in Canada, you really should have several rifles.
One will do. Something big enough to stop a deer.
I could suggest the Mannlicher 30-06. It's an excellent all-purpose gun. You'll want a scope, of course.
Let me
and then
see it.
there'll... Yes, sir. As you can see, it's a beautifully finished piece.
How much?
What?
How much does it cost?
Yeah, well, figuring the tax, leather case, the telescopic sight, just add it up here. Yeah. There you are, sir. It seems expensive, I know.
Okay. Okay, here's the money. I'll take the gun.
Well, if you please, sir, we have to file a record of the purchaser's name and address.
I know. My name is Smith.
Smith.
Robert Smith. You want me to spell it for you?
That won't be necessary, Mr. Smith. Have you some means of identification?
You love paperwork, don't you, Sport? Okay. Here's my driver's license, business cards, a couple of letters addressed to Robert Smith. That enough for you, Sport?
Yes, sir. I wish you good luck, Mr. Smith. Good hunting, sir.
Don't worry, I'll have good hunting. I know just where to go.
You know where Gus plans to go hunting. And you heard Mrs. Barkley tell Perry Mason she plans to use herself as a decoy. Gus Jansen has killed. It looks as if he may kill again, unless... Well, join us on Monday, won't you? It's almost noon, shortly after the close of our last episode. As you know, Perry Mason's best chance for smashing the crime syndicate, his only chance for saving Suzanne Barkley's life, is to force Suzanne out of hiding, learn what she knows, put her secret enemies behind bars. But even if Mason's plan works, it could result in tragedy. August Jansen knows what Mason's doing. And now, as Gus drives to his meeting with Albert Dallow, A deadly instrument of destruction rests on the car seat beside him. More of Gus in a few moments. First, in the office of Homicide Lieutenant Arthur Tragg.
Yeah, Martin. Did you tell him I'm here? Yeah. Oh, wait, Martin. Right after Mason comes in here, you phone me back. Never mind. I'll do the talking. You phone me.
Well, hello, Tragg.
Mason. Della.
Hi, Lieutenant. How's Harriet?
Great, Della. Just great.
And how are you?
Well, now you ask me, I'm a little tired, a little stale.
Oh?
You know how it is, Mason.
How what is, Tragg?
All winter long, the sun don't shine. You got to keep the windows closed, radiators turned on. But now the sun is shining, birds singing. It's perfect fishing weather.
Fishing?
Yeah. There's just one fly in the ointment. Oh, excuse me. Yeah? Oh, yeah, Martin. You did? Well, that's great. Wonderful. Well, we got the boat. Huh? A bunch of us chartered a boat and a guide, and we fixed our schedule so we get a day and a half off at the same time. The day and a half starts in 1 hour. I've been thinking about my fishing trip all winter long. Nothing's going to keep me from going. Nothing. Oh, now, listen. All we've talked about is my fishing trip, but... what's on your mind, Mason?
Well, frankly, Tragg, I have a problem in connection with my fishing trip.
What are you fishing for?
A lovely young girl. And my problem is to keep her from being killed when she goes to her mother's funeral this afternoon. And I have also got to keep her mother from being killed.
What?
Yes. You see, her mother is going to her own funeral.
Going to her own funeral?
That's right. Well, you're in a hurry, and frankly, so am I. This is a very tricky proposition. I came to you because I thought you'd find it intriguing in a professional way.
Of course, we didn't know that you'd planned to go fishing.
I am going fishing, and nothing's going to stop me.
Exactly.
But I've got time to listen. Maybe I can give you some advice.
No, it'll take more than that, Tragg. Well, there must be a dozen men in the department who... Lieutenant Raymond. I've heard Raymond is a good man.
Raymond, that clown? Oh, he's okay, but what's the deal, Mason?
You know what I'm doing, Tragg?
Well, in a general way. We've discussed it in department head meetings. You're investigating the auto theft syndicate.
And I need Suzanne Barkley's information. The girl disappeared months ago.
I read where Suzanne's mother was killed in an accident.
Phony accident. Mrs. Barkley is alive and well.
Oh, I get you. You expect the girl to come to last services for her mother. What's your problem?
A man called Gus. Suzanne ran away because she's afraid of this man called Gus. We can't identify him. But we do know he's a vicious killer. We also know he's a key member of the syndicate. And we also know Suzanne Barkley can identify him. There's a chance Gus has learned what we're doing. If he has, he'll be waiting at the chapel for Suzanne.
Killer, huh? That's right. And Mrs. Barkley?
Well, Mrs. Barkley and Suzanne look alike. Mrs. Barkley insists on using herself as a decoy. She's going to wear some clothing which Suzanne left behind, go to the chapel a bit earlier than Suzanne is expected to get there.
Thinking if Gus is waiting for Suzanne, he'll see Mrs. Barkley first. So that if he does make a move, it'll be against Mrs. Barkley and not Suzanne.
Yeah, that's a brave lady.
She loves her daughter, Lieutenant.
Lieutenant Halverson is covering bus and train terminals in an effort to spot Suzanne before she reaches the chapel.
Uh-huh.
But in case he doesn't, and there's trouble, it'll happen there at the chapel. You see, Tragg, you've had the experience and you've got the ability for this job.
Experience, ability.
And the human understanding to place a girl's life above a fishing trip.
I've been thinking about my trip all winter.
Tragg, Jake Jacobson gave up a trip to Bermuda to help us. His editor went out on a limb to help us. All right, I'll go see Lieutenant Raymond.
Oh, now, wait
I'd
a
like to
minute.
sit here and jaw with you, Tragg. Really, I would, but I've given you only the bare outline. You know, there's a lot to explain to Lieutenant Raymond.
Okay, Mason.
And you want to go fishing. We'll get out of your
I
way.
said okay, Mason. I owe you a favor. I owe you 100.
Tragg, I'm not asking you.
I'm asking you to let me handle it.
No, I wouldn't think of Tragg. Because if you start thinking about all those beautiful fish, you wouldn't be able to keep your mind on this job. But it's perfectly all right, Tragg. I hope you catch lots and lots of fish, huh?
Mason. Martin, phone the boys and say I'm going to stay in town and go fishing. I said I'm going fishing in town. Now call them up. Okay, Mason, I took the bait. Let's go take a look at the ground.
Now, some distance outside the city, Gus Jansen drives past the nightclub headquarters of the syndicate, stops at the huge storage garage located behind the nightclub. Now Gus lifts a leather case containing a powerful hunting rifle, starts to take it into the garage when...
Gus? Gus?
Oh, what's she doing out here?
Oh, Kate.
Hello, Gus. Oh, I'm all ready for my driving lesson. I was waiting outside the club, and I came over when I saw your car.
You shouldn't have walked all the way over.
Why? Oh, you've been so nice to me, Gus. I've always wanted to learn to drive. We never had a car. My father was sick, and then he went to prison. Maybe someday we'll have a car of our own, and I'll already know how to drive. Won't Pa be surprised when I show him? I've been chattering away like a magpie. Are we ready to go?
Kate, I'm terribly sorry, but I have to break our date this afternoon.
Oh,
I have a business appointment. Oh, really, I'm very sorry.
well, so am I.
But, Kate, if there were any way I could get out of this, but there isn't. I've got to keep this appointment.
I understand, Gus.
You're awfully sweet, Katie. I tried to phone you and tell you.
Oh?
Yes, didn't you get my message?
No. I guess somebody forgot.
I guess. I want you to know I didn't forget. I've been looking forward to this afternoon with you. What is it? Oh, you noticed that, huh?
Couldn't help noticing. Isn't it a gun case, Gus?
Why, as a matter of fact, it is. A BB gun, not a real gun. It's a child's toy.
Oh.
Now, I'll have to make a confession about my business appointment. A friend of mine has a little boy who was sick all winter long. He's better now. His parents are taking him to the country, and, well, I'm going to give this to the kid.
Then I'm really not sorry you can't give me a driving lesson.
You think he'll like the present?
I know he will. Timmy, that's my brother. Timmy always wanted an air rifle.
I heard you mention your brother.
Oh, didn't I?
No, I remember everything you've told me about yourself. Now, what about Tim?
Well, my brother and sister are staying with my aunt. But I think they're coming home. Well, it's still a secret, but Pa's been doing so well at the importing company.
That's Nicholas Importing, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Did I tell you?
Of course. I said I remember everything you've ever said.
Apparently I didn't. Anyhow, we think we can bring Timmy and my sister home.
I hope you can, Katie. And if you can, I'll see that Tim gets an air rifle as fine as this one. And I'll take him out in the country and teach him to use it. And that's a promise, Kate.
Oh, but you don't want to take up time with Timmy.
Why not?
Do you like children, Gus?
You sound surprised.
Oh, somehow I never thought you...
Well, let's put it this way. Even if I'm not wild about kids, I like the big sister of a kid named Tim Beekman. I like her because she's a lovely, sweet kid herself.
Thank you, Gus.
You sure you're not mad about this afternoon?
Oh, no. I'm glad you're going to do something nice for a little boy.
And I'm glad you're glad. I'll see you, Katie.
Bye, Gus. Tell the little boy hello for me.
Gus Jansen is doubly dangerous because he doesn't seem dangerous. Because even as he smiles pleasantly and speaks politely to a nice young girl, Gus Jansen plots the cold, remorseless murder of Sue Barkley. By all means, join us tomorrow, won't you? It's early afternoon, sometime after the close of our last episode. As you know, Suzanne Barkley's mother is supposed to have died in an accident. Last services for Mrs. Barkley are supposed to be held in the chapel at 4 this afternoon. But, as you also know, Mrs. Barkley is alive and well. Perry Mason staged the accident in an effort to force Suzanne out of hiding. Now, in the drugstore, across the street from the chapel, Homicide Lieutenant Arthur Tragg speaks to the waitress.
Give me a sardine sandwich and a cup of coffee, please.
There he is, Chief.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Mason. Della. Hello, Tragg.
Hi, Tragg. You order me one?
I didn't know what you want.
Oh, whatever you have.
I'm going to have a sardine sandwich. I'm going to get some fish today.
Hmm? Oh, your fishing trip.
Yeah. Only I don't get a fishing trip. I get to set up protection for the Barclays.
And?
It's okay. I've got men guarding approaches to the chapel. They'll spot all parked cars.
What?
I'm taking it your boss knows what he's talking about.
He usually does.
Well, I'm not arguing. Yours truly didn't go on the fishing trip because Mason's afraid this guy Gus smells a rat. But Gus knows Suzanne's mother wasn't killed in an accident. But he knows it was staged to pull Suzanne out of hiding. No, sir, Della, I'm going along 100%. The funeral's at 4 o'clock, so Gus will be waiting. If you're right and he's tipped off. But who's arguing? Come over to the window.
I haven't ordered my sandwich.
Now, ain't that too bad? Come on, Mason. Leave Della to her sandwich.
Wait a minute, I'm coming.
What time will Mrs. Barkley go inside the chapel?
10 minutes to 4.
And pretend you're looking at the magazines.
Uh-huh.
But look through the window. There's some of my men.
Is the man repairing the traffic lights?
Uh-huh. I've got more guys spotted around. If Mrs. Barkley looks as much like Suzanne as you say, Gus will make his move when he sees her. And if my guys haven't already spotted him, they'll see him when he goes after Mrs. Barkley. That is, if he's tipped off and if he's here. Come on, let's go back.
Uh-huh. Okay. The track. What else did you do?
Well, I got men inside the chapel, men on the roof, and a command post set up in the room upstairs. We got the block covered. Or don't you think so?
Do you, Trag?
Yeah. What's the matter, Mason?
You've only got it covered a block from the entrance. Suppose he shoots from farther away.
You know how those guys operate. They get as close as they can, and they get a little bit closer. And then a little closer than that before they cut loose. But we'll be waiting. The car should pull close to Mrs. Barkley. We'll be waiting. I hate to say this, Mason. I think we've done a lot of work for nothing.
You do?
Mm-hmm. Gus ain't tipped off. Oh, I'll admit there's a good chance the girl will show. But not Gus. A guy like Gus would never think she'd risk coming to pay her last respects. And you'll see I'm right, Mason. I passed up a fishing trip for nothing.
You got fish.
Yeah, sardines.
Well, as you know, Perry Mason is right. Gus has been tipped off, and he's prepared countermeasures. Now, some distance outside the city, Gus Jansen stops at the entrance of a huge estate and gives a signal. And as the gates close behind his car, Gus Jansen drives down a winding, tree-shaded road.
Gee, Mr. Jansen, this is a big place. Look, all the trees.
J.T. likes trees. This is J.T.'s place. He's out of town, but this is a good place to test fire the rifle. You don't look happy, Albert. I'm happy.
Yeah, but you like what we're gonna do.
You aren't happy, are you, Albert?
Well, now you asked me.
Albert, I've been thinking about you. You've been a help to me lately. I'm going to do more than thank you. How'd you like to have a garage and machine shop of your very own? Well, say something.
Mr. Jansen, you mean it?
I never lied to you, Albert. You haven't said, do you want a machine shop of your very own?
That's all I want. I love working with tools, Mr. Jansen.
Everything depends on this, Albert. Help me stop Suzanne Barkley, and you'll get the machine shop. A deal?
You betcha, Mr. Jansen, you betcha.
Okay. Get busy on that rifle, Albert.
All I gotta do is put on the silencer.
What's that?
Or the bird singing? Sounds pretty, huh, Mr. Jansen?
What are you going to do?
As soon as I get the magazine loaded. Okay, Mr. Jansen. Let's see. See that tall tree about 300 feet ahead of us? Okay. About halfway to that tree, there's a rock.
Yeah, I see it. What's the deal?
Well, I'm going to aim at the middle of that rock and shoot. Then see where the bullet goes.
Okay. All set?
Uh-huh.
Wish that bird would stop singing.
Well, the bird don't bother me, Mr. Jansen. Here it goes. It shot high and right at where I aimed. I got to adjust the sight. I'll try it again. I'll have to make one more adjustment. Say, Mr. Jansen, now we know Mr. Perry Mason is behind this.
What about Mason?
Well, Mr. Mason's awful smart. Won't he expect trouble?
You think Mason's as smart as I am, Albert?
I didn't say that, Mr. Jansen. But Mr. Mason's awful smart.
I've got it all set, Albert. Don't you worry.
Okay. This ought to be the last try. That's it, Mr. Jansen. It's fired in. The last one was a bullseye. It's all set, Mr. Jansen.
Okay, let's go. You drive.
Me? Oh, you mean till we get to the chapel?
You drive all the way. You drive, I'll take the rifle. What's the matter?
You plan to get real close before you cut down on her?
You dummy. Why do you think I got a rifle? No, we'll be a block or so away.
That's an awful long shot, Mr. Jansen.
I'm a good shot, Albert.
Yes, sir. You're real good with a pistol, but you shot a rifle very much, Mr. Jansen?
Some.
Why don't you let me do it, Mr. Jansen? I'm expert. At least you should try it out once.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, what's the target?
That there stone. It's halfway to the big tree with the bird in it.
Where's the bird? I can't see it.
In the tree.
Now, watch where I hit the stone.
Now, you missed the target all the way, Mr. Jansen. Look, Mr. Jansen, you know I'm good at stuff like this. Please let me do it, Mr. Jansen.
I thought you didn't like it.
No, sir. I don't like it. But I don't mind doing it. I want that garage and machine shop awful bad, Mr. Jansen. I'd do anything to get a shop of my own, with my own tools and machines. You said it'd be my very own place, Mr. Jansen. I can't tell you how much getting my own shop means to me. But even if I'm dumb, I can want something just as much as you do. Give me the rifle a minute, Mr. Jansen.
Okay, Albert.
The bird ain't started singing again, Mr. Jansen.
Never mind, I was watching that rock. You didn't hit it.
I wasn't aiming at the rock. Listen.
I don't hear anything.
No, sir. The bird ain't singing. It ain't gonna sing anymore. The bird was twice as far off as the rock, and it was a lot smaller target. Please let me keep the rifle, Mr. Jansen. I want that machine shop awful bad.
You heard Gus Jansen. If he's right and Mason's wrong, all Mason's plans have been in vain. But if Mason's right, Gus Jansen and Albert Dallow will be on hand. And you heard what happened the last time Albert fired the rifle. By all means, join us tomorrow, won't you? It's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Almost time when supposed last services for Mrs. Barkley will be held in the chapel. You know Mrs. Barkley is alive and well, that Perry Mason had Suzanne's mother pretend death to make Suzanne come out of hiding. You know, and so does Gus Jansen. Gus has planned his own reception for the girl if Mason's right and Suzanne does appear on the scene. But as we're about to learn, the police have also made preparations. For in a second-story room across the street from the chapel, Lieutenant Arthur Tragg says...
Mason?
Yeah.
We ought to get a report.
What?
Tragg's men are following Mrs. Barkley's taxi.
That's it. Trag speaking. Okay, check back in 3 minutes. Okay, Mason. They're 15 blocks away and right on schedule. Hey, Spots!
Yes, sir?
Give me a headset.
What is it, Perry?
Tragg is making radio contact with his men on the street.
Check in post 1. Keep contact. Check in 3. Keep contact. Check in 4. This is Tragg. I just got the flash. Mrs. Barkley's 9 minutes away, so keep your eyes open. If Gus is in the vicinity, he'll make his move when he sees Mrs. Barkley. She's dressed in her daughter's clothes. Gus will mistake her for Suzanne, but don't forget, Suzanne may show at any time, so watch it, you guys. Okay, Sparks, take the headset. I think we got it covered, Mason. Every approach to the chapel is guarded. I got the guys on the roof.
You have it covered a block each way from the chapel.
You know how many men I'm using? I've got my neck stuck out a mile.
The district attorney says Mr. Mason is skating on thin ice.
Well, this time I agree with Mr. Rath.
Well, are you in contact with Lieutenant Halverson?
Yeah. If they were going to pick up the girl in the train or bus terminal, they'd have done it by now.
Oh, speak of the devil. Here comes District Attorney Apt.
Lieutenant, Miss Street.
Drag, let's check those men on the roof.
Now,
and
just
see
a moment, Mr. Mason.
What do you want?
I just learned what's going on. I came here to see the facts for myself. And I want to see you, Mason.
All right.
I kept my hands off when I learned you perpetrated a public hoax. I didn't say a word when you had Mrs. Barkley pretend dead.
Well, you told me that Mr. Mason was justified in his efforts to locate Suzanne.
Huh? Well, if I did, and I'm not admitting it, mind you, this is going too far. I'm going to ask you a simple question, Mason, and I want a direct, unqualified answer. I can't force you to answer me, but I advise you to be frank while there's still time.
You want to know if Mrs. Barkley is coming to her own funeral dressed in Suzanne's clothes?
Yes.
So if Gus is waiting to stop Suzanne, he'll move against Mrs. Barkley and reveal his position?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
I can't believe it, Mason. It's sheer folly.
Drag speaking.
I honestly can't believe
Wait.
that you...
Trag is in contact with her taxi.
Okay.
Wait, Lieutenant, are you in contact with Mrs. Barkley?
And away.
I demand you tell her to stop where she is. She is not to... Lieutenant, I told you to tell Mrs. Barkley...
I already told her a long time ago.
Eh?
I told her not to do this. Mason told her, and she told us to go jump in the lake.
You should have called on me, or forcibly restrained her.
That's a real determined lady, Mr. Rath. And she slings a lot of weight.
As I very well know, Mrs. Barkley's an important woman. Her family has political connections. Never mind the political connections. The fact remains that...
Please, Mr. Apt. Trag, show him.
Look here through the window, Mr. Apt. You see the chapel?
Of course I see it.
What you don't see is the men I've got on the streets. I have a full squad down there. They're covering every car parked within a block of the chapel.
Oh?
And guys up on the roof. That thing behind you is a radio transmitter receiver. We're in short-wave contact.
Well, you've certainly taken a lot of trouble.
Well, as you say, Mrs. Barkley's important.
All of this, the men, equipment, all this costs money, you know. Taxpayers' money.
If you're going to put it on a dollars and cents basis, Mrs. Barkley pays a lot of taxes.
Which is not the question. There's more at stake here than a few dollars.
Post one's got a bite.
The post one's on the southeast corner. Look through the window.
What? What is it? What is it?
Wait. You see that car parked near the corner? Two of my men are going up to it.
I was speaking to the driver.
And waving the car to drive on.
False alarm, Lieutenant.
Yeah, we saw it, Sparks. Tell those guys to keep their eyes open.
False alarm, eh, Mason? You know, I've been thinking this whole affair could be a false alarm.
I will take full responsibility, Mr.
Well, I
Apt.
hope you'll remember that statement, Mason. I'll remember it. You know what happens to people who turn in false alarms, Mason. But, on the other hand, if Gus is waiting and sees Mrs. Barkley, he won't see the girl. She won't come forward. But if he sees Mrs. Barkley, she may well come to her own funeral. Her own funeral, literally. Which is no laughing matter.
Nobody laughed but you.
Yes. I wonder if I shan't have the last laugh, Miss Street? We'll see, won't we, Mason? And we don't have long to wait, do we, Mr. Mason?
Meanwhile, on the street below, a uniformed driver tools his delivery truck through traffic passing the chapel.
You're going right past the chapel, Mr. Jansen?
Get this, Albert. I'm going to stop 2 blocks from the chapel in front of the produce market. I'll leave the back of the truck pointing toward the chapel. Have you got that?
Uh-huh.
Here's the important thing. We'll be 2 blocks away from the chapel. The place is probably crawling with cops.
I think you're right, Mr. Jansen. Mr. Mason is an awful smart man.
Shut up about Mason.
I only said he's smart enough to expect trouble.
He won't expect it to come from so far away. Here's the produce market. Now, tell me the rest of it, just as I told you.
Yes, sir. We got a truck full of vegetables. We're going to get out of the cab and go and open up the back of the truck and get inside and move the crates of vegetables.
And?
And if anybody asks us, you got to order for vegetables for the market.
And?
Huh? Oh, and I leave all the talking to you.
Okay, you got it. Come on, let's go. Okay, open her up. Let's get that order sorted out.
Okay.
Okay so far. Now move back in those vegetables and get the rifle and check it.
I stuck it back here in the broccoli.
Is it loaded?
Uh-huh.
Get down behind the crates. Look at the chapel.
Hey, Mr. Jansen, the body of the truck is so high I can see the chapel good, real good.
Where do you think I got this truck?
That was awful smart of you to think of it.
I'm going to show Mason just how smart I am, if the girl shows.
Mr. Mason thinks she'll come to the chapel.
Well, maybe he's right. And if he is, we'll see. But I think he's all wet. I've been thinking about Mason, Albert, and...
What is it?
See that taxi across from the chapel? Girl getting out of it. Get ready, Albert. You see her?
I see her. Suzanne?
Yeah. She's headed for the chapel. Wait. Traffic's holding her up. Watch. There she goes. Taking her own sweet time. Draw a bead, Albert.
I got her lined up real good, Mr. Jensen. I can see her real good through the telescope.
Are you ready?
I'm all set, Mr. Jensen.
So long, Suzanne. Okay, Albert, let her have it. Go ahead, Albert. She'll get across the street.
That ain't no girl, Mr. Jensen.
I tell you that, Suzanne, I know.
She ain't no girl, Mr. Jensen. I see her face in the telescope. She ain't no girl.
Let me have that.
Don't shoot, Mr. Jensen, because I tell you...
You're right. She looks like Susanna from a distance. So that's it.
Hmm? I don't get it, Mr. Jensen. I thought...
So Mason expected trouble and trotted out a decoy.
Huh?
A decoy, you fool, a red herring. But Mason outsmarted himself. He didn't fall for it. We'll wait.
For Suzanne?
For Suzanne. If she shows, we'll get her. But if she doesn't... Watch close, Albert. We'll know who's right in less than 5 minutes.
Gus Jansen is reckless, but he's lucky. It looks as if no matter what happens, Gus is going to win. We'll learn the outcome tomorrow, so you'll join us, won't you? As you know, Perry Mason believes Suzanne Barkley will come out of hiding only if given sufficient reason. So Mason gambled and gave her a reason. He staged a fake accident in which Suzanne's mother is supposed to have lost her life. Mason gambled Suzanne's love for her mother will force her to come to the chapel where last services are to be held. But time is running out. It's almost 4 o'clock. Time for the last services to begin. Tension mounts with every passing second as Mason, the police, the district attorney wait to learn if Mason's gamble will pay off. As you know, the immediate vicinity of the chapel is heavily guarded. But 2 blocks away, in a huge delivery truck...
4 o'clock, Albert. 4 o'clock. Suzanne didn't show. She won't come, I knew it. But put away the rifle, Albert. She'll be here by now if... I was right all the time. Mason was wrong. Mason thought she'd come, but he was wrong. I know where she's going to be in a day or so. You hear me, Albert? I know where she's going to be. Mason made his play and fell flat on his face. Okay. I know what I can do and what I'm going to do. Come on, Albert. Let's get out of here.
Now, a few minutes later, across the street from the chapel, in the room Lieutenant Tragg used to direct the police guard,
Well, Mason?
Oh, Trag.
It's 4:30, Della. Mason?
All right, Trag.
Harry.
No, there's no use waiting, Ella. She'd have come to the chapel long ago. Okay, Trag.
Okay, you guys, pack up the equipment. Sparks, tell the guys on post outside to pack it in. Oh, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Tell Sergeant Martin to leave a 3-man guard in the chapel just in case. Where's the district attorney?
Oh, Mr. App went downstairs just a minute ago.
I expected him to stick around and give you the needle, Mason.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your efforts, Trag. I'll phone you later.
Pulling out?
Well, I have a meeting with Mr. Wallace and Mrs. Barkley.
Just a second, I'll walk down with you. Sure. Make sure all this stuff is packed up. Okay, let's go. You say you're meeting with Wallace? Oh, the big insurance muckety-muck.
Yeah, his company is retaining me to investigate this auto theft racket.
He's also Suzanne Barkley's uncle.
Stop here a minute, Mason. Now, look, Mason, I'm not going to tell you your business, but you've given me advice a time or two.
Well, what are you trying to say, Trag?
Well, I got all kinds of respect for Mr. Apt. He's a good DA, but he's got no love for you.
Harry's had a lot of chances to put Mr. Apt over the barrel.
That's what I mean, Della. Mason's had chances to clout him, but Mason didn't. Apt don't play that way. He's laying for you. He's burned up because you didn't bring him in from the start. Now, I'm telling you as a friend, Perry. Word's out, Apt is laying for you. Call a press conference and tell your side of it.
No, Trag.
You tried to pull one off. You fooled the people. I know why you did, and you were dead right, but you're a dead duck if you don't tell the public.
No, not now, Trag. I'll make a statement later.
You're an awful stubborn guy, Mason.
Well, I'll speak to the press later, Trag.
Harry, look.
Newspaper reporters.
What are reporters doing here?
Why, they're talking to Mr. Apt. Does that answer your questions?
Oh, Mr. Mason. Mason.
Hey, this is Harry Mason.
Now, boys, give Mr. Mason a chance. I was on the point of issuing a statement to the press, Mr. Mason. However, now you're here, I'll give you first chance to speak.
Hey, Mr. Mason, is it true you faked the accident?
What about the phony funeral, Mr. Mason?
Now, give him a chance. Give him a chance to speak. That is, if Mr. Mason cares to make a statement. It's too bad you can't keep it a secret, Mr. Mason. I'm afraid it's going to damage your reputation severely. Yes, I'm certain your reputation's going to suffer. I mean, when it comes out that you're responsible for perpetrating a hoax on the public. Or do you intend to deny it? Is that what you intend doing, Mason? Boys, I want each and every one of you to hear this. It is my solemn duty to make it very clear that Mr. Mason perpetrated this hoax without official sanction. Oh, we did what we could to bail him out. And I'm quite sure Mr. Mason will try to cover up by saying he was justified in what he did. Now, Mr. Mason always has good excuses. But this time, just a moment, I haven't finished.
Apt, I will speak for myself.
When I finish.
What about it, Mr. Mason? Let him talk.
Yeah, what's the deal, Mr. Mason?
Come on, give us a lowdown.
Well, I have no intention of dodging my responsibility. I was retained by Mr. Donald Wallace to locate his niece, Suzanne Barkley. I made no progress, so, believing Suzanne would come to last services for her mother, I staged a fake accident and a fake funeral. Everything was done entirely on my own responsibility. Suzanne Barkley did not come forward, so my judgment was at fault. I offer my sincere apologies to those friends and relatives of Mrs. Barkley who have been saddened by Mrs. Barkley's supposed death. And to the public at large, I say, once again, the responsibility was wholly and completely mine.
Is that all you have to say, Mason?
What?
You say you perpetrated this hoax merely to find a missing girl?
Yes, that's right.
Well,
Mr. Wallace must have promised you a lot of dough.
Harry.
Well, as a matter of fact, I have been offered a substantial sum to locate Miss Barkley.
so you did all this for money? For a fee, is that what you're saying? Oh, but I can't believe my ears, gentlemen. I'm positive money had nothing to do with Mr. Mason's playing fast and loose with public sensibilities. No, Mr. Mason wouldn't think of money. His first consideration, I'm almost certain, was finding the girl.
Let's go,
Of
Della.
course, the thought of a huge fee might have entered his mind, but I don't say it did.
You really stuck your chin out, Mason. You didn't have to. Not that far.
Yes, I did.
Mason.
Yes, Trag, yes. Because there is still the syndicate.
Huh?
The syndicate, with all of its hidden power. Power to wreck lives and amass more wealth, to breed more power. And I'm going to fight it.
Well, what's that got
Trag. I want it made public that I'm interested in Suzanne Barkley, and only Suzanne Barkley.
What about you, Mason? It'd go easier with you if you told the papers the real reason you tried this.
Yes, easier on me. Easier for the syndicate to fight back.
Yeah. Any idea why the girl didn't show?
No. Unless Gus has already found her.
Oh, Perry.
And if he hasn't, he will. This was my only chance to get ahead of him, Trag. Oh, there are other ways to break the syndicate.
But Sue Barkley.
Yes. Gus is ahead of us. We know what's ahead of Suzanne Barkley now.
I'm sorry about all this, Mason. Anything I can do?
No, thanks. I'll see you, Trag. All right, Della.
At this point, it seems as if Gus Jansen and the syndicate have taken every trick. Even Perry Mason's giving himself a public black eye is a vain effort. Because Jansen knows Mason is behind the auto theft investigation. Yes, Mason seems defeated. But Mason has seemed defeated before, and... well, there'll be a crucial development tomorrow. So you'll join us, won't you? It's late afternoon. Shortly after Perry Mason's plan to make Suzanne Barkley come out of hiding failed. And now you may be sure the full extent of Mason's failure is being made public. More of Mason in a few moments. First,
I want to send a cablegram. To Mr. J.T. Doherty, Wallabies Hotel, Kingston, Jamaica. My name is August Jansen. We'll be out of the city for a few days to attend important meeting in Smithville. Contact me through the club if necessary. Hope you're having an enjoyable holiday. I intend enjoying mine. Would you read that back to me? Now? Right, that's it. Now, Gordy, you know where I'll be in Smithville.
Uh-huh.
Everything's outlined for you here.
Okay.
Shut up, I'm talking to you. We'll have a shipment of cars in a day day after tomorrow. I expect you to have them processed through the garage and delivered by the time I return. On another thing, leave Kate Beekman alone while I'm gone.
I said sure, didn't I?
I advise you to mean it. I do.
Yeah.
Now, when J.T. comes back, ask him to contact me in Smithville immediately. I have some important news.
Well, he won't be back for 2 weeks.
You never know what J.T. will do. He may show up tomorrow. In case he does, tell him I've got important news.
Okay, what?
I'll tell him I couldn't send the information by open wire. It'll keep. But he should be informed the earliest possible moment.
Okay. What is it?
It's for J.T., not you. Oh, and if Kate Beekman asks for me...
Oh, what makes you think she will?
You know, if I were you, I'd watch my step, little man. You and I have unfinished business, Gordy.
I don't get you.
You try to guess the answer while I'm gone.
Wait a minute. I didn't do a thing to you. Well, I wish you'd tell me what's the beef. Come on, let's get it out in the open. Gus. Look, if it's what I said in the cocktail lounge, Gus, I had a lot to drink. You can't hold it against the guy if he pops off when he's drinking. Is it because I said you were all washed up? Is that it?
You had a good reason, Gordy. There was good reason to believe Suzanne Barkley would come out of hiding and attend her mother's funeral. That's why they faked it.
Faked it?
Faked Mrs. Barkley's death, faked the funeral. Haven't you heard the news?
No.
Yeah. A real bright boy got a real bright idea, so he staged a fake funeral.
Who?
But the bright boy is a jerk. The girl didn't show. I knew she wouldn't show. I know where she will be.
Smithville?
I'm going to meet her. Be seeing you, Gordy.
Yeah. That guy gives me the shakes when he looks like that. Oh. I ought to be used to him by now, but I still get the shakes when he gets that look. He's got the same thing in mind for me he has for Suzanne. Yeah. Well, he don't dare do it. Not before JT gets back, and once I get to JT, JT won't let him. I got nothing to worry about. I don't have to be scared of him. I'm not scared of him. Not a bit. Not one little bit.
Now, in the newspaper offices of the Daily Blade.
Well, here's Jake's office.
Hi, Mr. Mason. Della.
Hello, Jake.
You know what happened. You and your editor cooperated with me, Jake. I tried to get news of our failure to you first, but...
Mr. App jumped the gun.
One of our reporters was there. Arch and I are puzzled, Mr. Mason. We can't figure it out.
Does anything puzzle your editor, Jake?
I'm not kidding, Della. According to your statement, you staged the accident and the funeral only because Mr. Wallace offered you a big fee to locate Suzanne.
That's right.
The public doesn't mind being kidded if it's only a little and if it's for a good reason. But people get mighty burned up if you fool them for selfish reasons.
For which you can't blame them.
You can justify it if you tell the whole story.
No, Jake.
Yes, you can. If you tell the real truth. How you're investigating a multi-million-dollar racket. And how you can break it up with Suzanne's information.
No. Jake, I can fight the racket more effectively if they don't know I'm after them.
Well, I hate to tell you this, Mr. Mason, but Arch will have to pace you harder than anybody else. This paper broke the story in the first place. Arch will have to come down with both feet.
I know. That's why I'm here. Now, when your editor ran the story of Mrs. Barkley's alleged death, he knew the story was a fake. I want him to write an editorial stating that I personally lied to him.
But you didn't.
That I personally lied to him, and that he ran the story only because he had no reason to doubt my integrity. That'll take the burden off Arch and you and your paper.
You see what it's going to do? It's going to make you out a liar and a cheap shyster who'll do anything for a fee. It's going to make you out a guy who'll trade on his reputation to take advantage of his friends. It's going to smear you, Mr. Mason. You won't have a reputation.
Oh. Well, Jake, we have to play it this way. Now, I'll be in Mr. Wallace's office for the next hour if your editor wants personal confirmation from me. I'll see you, Jake.
Bye, Jake.
Yeah. See you guys.
Now, a short time later, in the Wallace Insurance Building.
What is it, Della? You haven't said a word since we left Jake's office. Della?
I just don't want to talk.
Oh, Della.
I don't want to talk because if I start talking, I'll cry, and I don't want to cry.
There's nothing to cry
Yes,
about.
there is. There is. I know better than anybody else because I know what's happened from the beginning. You've taken it all on your shoulders. Even when it was Mr. Wallace who told App what you're doing. It would serve Mr. Wallace good and right if you told the whole thing. It would, Perry. Even if Mr. Wallace and his insurance companies do lose money, they haven't any right to expect you to shoulder the whole thing.
No. Now, listen.
Well, it isn't.
No, now, wait. You should know better than anybody else that the money is not important. If smashing the syndicate means only saving money, money isn't that important, Della. People are. The syndicate hurts people. Kids like Francis Riley and Suzanne Barkley.
I know, Perry, but I just hate to see you... Well, okay, you're right. Let's go talk to Mr. Wallace.
I will have to wait a few minutes. We're a little early. Well, go in and sit down. That's strange. Office door is locked.
There ought to be someone here.
Who is it?
This is Perry Mason. Mr. Wallace expects us.
He isn't here. There's no one here. Oh. Who did you say you are?
Perry Mason.
Oh. Wait.
What?
Hello, Mr. Mason. My name is Suzanne Barkley.
Well, just when Mason's defeat seemed certain, a door opened. A lovely, sad-faced girl looked at Mason and said, "My name is Suzanne Barkley. You know there's important and surprising developments in the immediate future. So join us on Monday, won't you?" This afternoon, immediately after the close of our last episode. As you know, Perry Mason took a big risk when he staged the accidental death of Sue Barkley's mother. And until a moment ago, it looked as if Mason had gambled and lost. Mason and the police waited at the chapel where last services were supposedly held for Mrs. Barkley. Time passed. Time ran out. But Suzanne failed to appear. Yet a moment ago, when Mason went to the office of Suzanne's uncle, we heard...
Who is it?
Well, this is Perry Mason.
Oh, just a moment. Hello, Mr. Mason. My name is Suzanne Barkley.
Oh. Della, inside quickly before she's seen. Lock that door.
Mr. Mason,
Wait, Suzanne. There isn't time to explain details, but Mr. Wallace and I are working together.
Oh, I guessed you were. Uncle Don thought of asking your help even before I went away.
Perry.
This has to come first. Now, Suzanne, you have information that we need. And believe me, we have important news for you. But I have to know this before anything else. Did anyone see you come in here? Did you stop and speak to anyone? Did you notice anyone watching you? And please, think carefully.
I don't think I was seen. I was careful. Very, very tired, but I was careful.
Sit down, Suzanne.
I'm all right. I just... You see... I'll tell you everything I know, Mr. Mason. Just a moment.
Suzanne, this is going to come as a shock to you, but try to understand. Your mother is perfectly all right. She's perfectly well.
What?
Your mother was not killed in an accident.
But the newspapers
Well,
said...
we arranged it so the papers would print that story, and you would come out of hiding.
Then... My mother isn't... She really isn't... My mother... Donald? Donald? That's my mother's voice.
Yes, just a minute.
Donald? Mr. Mason.
Mrs. Barkley?
Mommy. Suzanne.
Oh, my baby. Thank God.
Oh, Mommy. I thought...
Oh.
But the papers said...
Oh, let me hold you. Let me hold you.
are all right.
Oh.
You aren't.
Of course not, darling. I'm as alive as you are.
Oh.
Suzanne,
Oh,
what?
let me go. Let me go.
Of course, darling, but what?
I think I know what this is, Mrs. Barkley. Suzanne, now there is no reason to be afraid. We'll make very certain that nothing happened.
No. Suzanne, I've got to go away again. You have to let me go. You mustn't try to stop me. Let me go. Forget me. Please don't try to stop.
Harry.
I've got her.
Mr. Mason.
She's fainted. Help me put her on the couch. Della, move that pillow there.
Oh, Suzanne, darling.
she's breathing regularly. She's pale.
Yes, she's awfully pale.
Yes, but she's been through a lot. I'll phone a doctor.
Oh, please do. Our family doctor.
We'll call him later if necessary. This man I'm calling now lives right here in this block. Now, let me speak to Dr. Birch, please. It's an emergency. Hello, Doug. Perry Mason. Yes, well, look, I'm next door in the Wallace Insurance Building. It's on the 35th floor. It's the office of the board chairman. Well, the girl has lost consciousness here. Yes, that's right. He'll be right here.
Give me the phone, Counselor. I'm going to phone the newspapers.
Not now.
Perry,
no.
you were right. Suzanne did come forward. Let me tell the papers in time to kill those other stories.
And warn Gus?
Well, the news won't break until morning. Gus will be arrested by morning.
If Suzanne identifies him.
But that's why she came out of hiding. She wants to identify. Well, anyway, I think she does. Don't you?
I think we're in for trouble. And if we are, we don't dare announce her return.
But... Oh.
You see why we have to keep it a secret?
Yes.
All right. Now, I'm going to phone Halverson and make arrangements. And while I speak to Halverson, you phone Mr. Wallace and warn him, impress it on him, Della. We must keep this secret.
Meanwhile, in the Daily Blade newspaper building, columnist Jake Jacobson shakes his head, sighs, grinds out his cigarette, and crosses the hall to his editor's office.
Yeah.
Hi, Arch.
Jake, took you long enough to... Well, where is it?
What?
The story, the true story of why Mason faked Mrs. Barkley's death. Didn't you write it?
No.
Well, what have you been doing the past 2 hours?
I've been trying to think of a way to...
You're a newspaperman. You write the story without thinking. Perry Mason's investigating a huge crime syndicate. He can bust the syndicate with Suzanne Barkley's information. But Suzanne's in hiding. So Perry Mason fakes an accident in hopes Suzanne comes to her ma's funeral. There's your story. Now write it.
Arch.
Why, the way it stands now, Mason didn't say a word about the syndicate, so people think he rigged the funeral just to earn a big fee. Get on the story, Jake.
Arch. We don't write it.
Jake, this paper broke the story of Mrs. Barkley's death. We're out on a limb, kid.
We don't write that story. We don't mention the syndicate.
And then tell me this. How am I going to cover this paper for printing a phony story?
Like this. Front page editorial saying you ran the story because Perry Mason gave it to you. You had no reason to doubt Mr. Mason's honesty, so you ran the story in good faith. Now you know Mason lied to you, so you retract the story. That takes you off the hook.
Yeah. Of course, it ain't true. Mason didn't lie to me.
Print it like I told you, Arch.
You want me to crucify him?
Mason gave me the word himself, Arch.
What?
Mason told me himself. Don't you see? He doesn't want to tip the syndicate, or he's checking them.
Yeah, but this is going to smear him. Smear him but good, and Mason knows it. Why, he'd be crazy to...
Okay, Arch, call this number.
Huh?
Mason left this number for you to call if you want personal confirmation. Here.
Yeah, you bet I want confirmation. Hello, let me speak to it. Oh, Mr. Mason. Arch Kerner, editor of the Daily Blade. Hey, Mr. Mason, I'm awful sorry it fell through and Sue Barkley didn't come out of hiding, but, you can't take all the tricks, huh? Hey, Mr. Mason, since the girl didn't come forward, it leaves a couple of problems. Jacobson says you spoke to him. Yeah, but Jake's mixed up. Jake says I'm to call you a liar in bold-faced print on page 1 with a black border. He says I can't tell about the syndicate. Yeah, but Mr. Mason... Mr. Mason, no matter what happens later on, if we call you a liar, that's all some people will remember. Oh, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it, but I don't like it, and that's a fact. Yes, sir.
Well, I'll get out of your way so you can write the story.
Hey, just a minute. I want you to...
Not a chance. I got to finish my column.
Wait.
Your phone's ringing.
Yeah. Who? I don't know. No, I haven't got time to talk to her. Now, look, Jake.
You can write the story about Mason after you do your column. I'd be glad to write it, but I'm not feeling so good.
Yeah. You and me, too.
You don't want to write that story any more than I do.
Mm-mm. But I'll do it if you won't.
What do you mean, if I won't? You think it bothers me? It really bothers me? Act your age. Grow up, kid. Mason wants to get my paper off the hook by putting himself on the hook. Well, that's okay. Okay, baby. All I care about is number one, and number one is this newspaper.
Okay, Art.
I'll call anybody a liar in spades. Double. This newspaper comes first.
Hey, Art.
Well, yeah, this paper does come first. I wish I had the guts to order somebody else to write that story.
Of course, Suzanne Barkley did come out of hiding to tell what she knows about Gus Jensen. But did you notice the same thing Mason did? Do you know why Mason expects trouble? I can tell you Mason's desire for secrecy is justified because, well, you'll join us tomorrow, won't you? It's late afternoon, shortly after the close of our last episode. As in the great office building owned by Sue Barkley's uncle...
Yes. Oh, yes, he's waiting. It's Lieutenant Halverson, Chief.
Oh, look, Mr. Wallace is going in with Suzanne and her mother. Ask him to let us know as soon as she wakes up.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Wallace.
Yes?
Would you mind letting us know as soon as...
Hello, Lieutenant. Yes, I'm in the Wallace building. Mm-hmm.
Suzanne Barkley is here.
Yeah, me too. No, she hasn't said a word yet. She fainted. The doctor was... Well, she came out of hiding because she thought her mother was killed in an accident. When she learned her mother is actually alive and well, she fainted. Yeah. No, she's okay. I'll speak to her the moment she wakes up. Now, here's where you come in. If Suzanne gives us the identity of Gus, chances are we can nail him tonight. And since we know she can identify Gus, get your men together and stand by.
In Mr. Wallace's private office, Suzanne's mother sits beside the sleeping girl, smooths her forehead, smiles warmly as her brother enters the room.
Donald.
Oh, yes. How is she?
Asleep. Look at her, Donald.
Yes. Where's the doctor?
In the other room. He's phoning about a patient in the hospital. He said she'd wake up at any time. Donald.
Yes?
You've got to promise me you'll be gentle with her.
Susan.
Promise me. I lost her, but now she's back.
Susan, I love her as much as you do.
Oh, she's waiting.
I'll call the doctor.
No, wait. Not yet.
Mommy?
I'm right here, darling.
Hello, Susie.
Uncle Don. Oh, Mother.
Oh, let me hold you, baby.
I didn't want to go away. I thought I'd never see you again.
You're back now. That's the important thing.
Mother, can you ever forgive me?
Of course, dear.
I wanted to tell you I was all right, but I couldn't. I didn't dare. You must have worried so.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You gave us quite a turn, young lady.
Now, please, Donald, don't scold her.
I deserve it. But things happened. So many things. Bad things. I had to go away. I had to hide.
It's all right now. You're back. That's all that matters. In a little while, we'll take you home.
Oh, yes, I want to go home.
Suzanne, Mr. Mason's here. He wants to speak with you.
Donald.
Only for a moment, Susan.
Not now, Donald. In a few days or even tomorrow.
We can't wait, Susan.
What does he want, Uncle Donald?
We think we know why you went away.
Uncle Donald,
Please, Suzanne. We know about Gus.
Oh.
But we don't know his full name, who he is.
I don't want to talk about him.
Donald.
Just tell Mr. Mason who he is, dear. The other questions can wait.
I don't want to see Mr. Mason.
Just for a moment, dear. That's all I
No, I don't want to.
Donald, you promised.
This really shouldn't wait. All I ask
I don't
is
want
that
to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I want to go home.
You can, dear, just as soon as
I want to go home now.
See, Donald, she's upset. And why not, after what she's been through? Why couldn't you...
Susan, all I ask
You're
is that...
asking too much.
I don't have to do it, Mother.
Look at her, Donald. She's in no condition to answer questions.
Not questions, Susan, just one.
Even one. It can wait until tomorrow.
Well, it can,
Then
but
let it. Let her have one knife apiece.
It isn't only her, Susan. There's Mason, too. We have to keep Suzanne's return a secret until Gus is behind bars.
Listen to her, Donald.
Think of Mason, dear. He can't vindicate himself to the public until we announce Suzanne's return. We owe Mason a debt of gratitude we can never repay.
I don't care.
Susan,
I won't have her hounded with questions the first night she's home. Oh, Donald, I am grateful to Mr. Mason. I thank the Lord he brought Suzanne home. But right now,
Mommy, Mason, let me alone. Mason, let me alone.
You see, Donald.
Yes. I don't understand
If
why...
you break your promise to me, I'll never forgive you. Neither will she.
You aren't being reasonable, Susan.
I don't care. You promised, and I'll never forgive you.
Oh. All right, Susan, all right. I think... Well, never mind. See if you can quiet her. I'll speak to Mason.
It's all right, darling. It's all right. You don't have to see anyone.
Mr. Wallace? Mr. Mason, Miss Street...
Is she awake?
Yes. However, Mr. Mason, before any of us says anything more, I want to say my sister and I are grateful from the bottoms of our hearts. You brought Suzanne back to us. If you've any idea how very, very much we love her, you know how grateful we are. Thank you, Mr. Mason. We're awfully glad she's back with us.
Well, so am I, Mr. Wallace.
I wish it were possible for Suzanne to answer the questions that must be answered. I mean, I wish she felt up to it tonight, but, well, the child is upset, overwrought. She's had an extremely trying experience.
What?
So please understand, she's in no condition to be questioned tonight.
Well, all I need tonight is Gus's identity. She can answer one.
No, Mason. My sister and I will take Suzanne home and let her sleep in her own bed tonight. After a good night's rest, she'll answer all your questions.
Is she sick?
No, but surely you understand, Mason. She's upset. She's nervous.
But Mr. Wallace...
No, wait, Don. Wallace, if she isn't sick...
She won't be questioned tonight. I don't like to say this, Mason, but if necessary, if you insist, I'll have my physician certify that she isn't up to it.
All right, I won't argue.
Harry.
If you accept my conditions, I want a guard posted in your house and on the grounds outside.
Well, if you think it necessary...
I
but
do.
I don't...
Her life is in danger until Gus is behind bars.
Well, no one knows she's back.
We don't think so. But just to be safe. And one more thing. Now, I can't force you to let me question her. Not tonight. Now, I don't like saying this, but your niece is a material witness in a criminal matter. If necessary, I will get a court order arming me with authority to question her.
Now, Mason...
That's up to you. She will be questioned in the morning, with your permission or without it.
There'll be no difficulty. You have my word. You'll arrange for the guard?
Yes, and that will take some time.
All right, I'll tell my sister. Thanks again, Mason.
Get hold of Paul Drake. Have him meet me downstairs immediately.
All right. Perry, you know, it could be, as Mr. Wallace says. Suzanne could be so nervous and upset.
Yes, it could be. But Wallace is bothered. So am I. All right. Phone Paul. I'm going to speak to Halverson.
Meanwhile, many blocks away in the Daily Blade newspaper building, Arch Kerner, editor, is writing an editorial. The editorial concerns Perry Mason, and Arch is having trouble with it.
Marie, is it asking too much of my secretary to... Yeah, I know you're back now, but where have you been? Ring Jake Jacobs at home, will you? Yeah. Wait, I love to wait. I could sit here all afternoon and wait. Yeah. Oh, Jake, Arch. Jake, I'm writing the Mason editorial, and I want to ask you something. Are you holding out on me? What do you mean? What do I mean? Mason made a big play to get Sue Barkley to come out of hiding. Apparently she didn't. So now I'm supposed to write an editorial saying Mason's a chump. I'll tell you what's my question. Other guys have said Mason's a chump, but he's got a way of landing on his feet. Yeah, but is there any chance that she will come out of hiding? Okay, Jake. Nah, nothing specific, just a crazy idea. I'm only a thick-witted newspaper editor. I sit here in my office and get crazy ideas. Uh-huh. Hey, thanks for the help. Yeah, Marie. Who? I don't care who she is. I'm busy. Look, Marie, be a doll and get me some black coffee, huh? And as for that babe waiting to see me, she'll have to wait. Yeah. Look, kid, I'm busy.
Arch Kerner is far from being thick-witted. He's a brilliant newspaper man. And right now, his keen instinct warns him something's wrong. Arch Kerner has never seen the girl waiting in his outer office. But he's going to. And when he does, there'll be dramatic and surprising results, as we'll learn tomorrow. So you'll join us, won't you? It's 7 in the evening, shortly after the close of our last episode. As in the Daily Blade newspaper building, a pretty, heavily made-up young woman waits impatiently to see the editor. The young lady doesn't have much longer to wait. She's going to see Mr. Kerner in a few moments, and when she does, we're going to hear Mr. Kerner make a startling discovery. But first, several blocks away, outside the Wallace Insurance Building.
Here, Paul.
Hi, beautiful.
You get the operators?
Yeah, they're in my car. Well, what's up?
Perry will tell you. He's waiting around the corner.
Oh, how is he, Della?
Perry?
Yeah, he had a mighty tough break this afternoon.
Well, I wouldn't worry if I were you.
Well, you don't know what's going around, beautiful. He practically staked his reputation to get Suzanne Barkley to come out of hiding, but she didn't, so...
Hello, Paul.
Oh, hello, Perry. Sorry you drew a blank this afternoon.
How many men with you?
6. Well, what's cooking?
Suzanne Barkley is inside with her mother and uncle.
Yeah, but... What?
She came too late to reach the chapel, so she went to her uncle's office.
Well, what'd she say? Who's Gus? Where's she go... Okay, let's have it.
I haven't questioned her. Mrs. Barkley and her uncle insist we wait until morning.
Oh, yeah?
They're determined I do not question her until morning, so...
Yeah, but everything's going to be just fine in the morning, huh?
Well, I'll get tough if I have to, but I can't get a court order tonight, so I'll go along. Now, Suzanne does not think that she was seen.
Yeah, but if Gus learns she's back and ready to identify him, couldn't you make him listen to reason, Perry? Okay, skip it. If you could have, you would have.
Post a guard at the Barkley residence, inside and out.
Okay. You're taking her home?
Halverson is sending an escort of plainclothesmen. We'll wait for you to establish the guard. Later on, we'll supplement your men with police.
Okay. Give me a couple of hours.
All right, but no longer, Paul. And, Paul, if your men have to get tough, have them get tough. I don't need to tell you. We're sitting on a powder keg.
They only let you ask her one tiny question. What's the matter? The kid's sick?
Overwrought, her uncle said.
Oh, overwrought. That explains it.
Well, you know what explains her mother's and uncle's attitude. They love Suzanne. They're so glad to have her home, they let her have her way.
Oh. It's Suzanne who doesn't want to answer questions. You think that's it?
Uh-huh. So we'll give her until morning, because we have to.
Now, in the office of Mr. Arch Kerner, editor of the Daily Blade, Arch scowls at the paper in his typewriter, lifts a carton of black coffee.
Yeah. Oh, Marie, phone my wife, will you? I was going to take her out to supper, but I can't get away.
Oh? Well, then I'll ask her to go with me. We've been planning to get together.
Oh, yeah? Her secretary and my wife go out to supper while I slave over a hot typewriter.
We know how hard you work, Mr. Kerner. What about Miss Watson?
Oh, the girl waiting. Well, what about her?
Well, I have to tell her something. She's impatient. And she's all out of chewing gum.
What?
Gum. She chews gum. Claims she's got a story.
Now, Marie, you've been here long enough to know
Now,
that...
I've been here long enough to get a feeling when somebody does have a story.
Yeah.
She's really very pretty.
Huh?
She's pretty. Got a cute figure.
Yeah? Well, okay. I'll give her a minute. It'll be good to get a break.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'll send her right in.
Hey, now, just a minute. Her being pretty has nothing to do with it.
Oh, no, sir. I'll send Miss Watson in.
All right. Mr. Turner will see you right now.
Sit down, Miss Watson.
I've never been in a newspaper office before. It's kind of like the movies, but it's, well, you know, it's quieter.
Uh-huh. Have a seat.
Yeah, I don't mind if I do. You, pay for stories, don't you?
Huh?
For whatchamacallit, an exclusive story? If a person brings you a special story, you pay money for it, don't you?
Well, now, Miss, our reporters gather news.
Yeah, but, say a person brings you a story nobody else knows. You pay for it?
Well, I'm afraid you've seen too many movies. Of course, we'd be grateful if someone brought us an item, but...
My girlfriend got $50 for an exclusive story. Her name's McAllen, and she got it from this paper. That wasn't in a movie.
Yeah. Well, it's true that in a few extremely rare cases...
I won $100.
Oh, my dear young lady,
it's about
we
that
wouldn't...
Suzanne Barkley thing, but...
What?
Since you aren't interested, goodbye, Mr.
Just a moment, Miss Watson. You didn't give me time to explain. Now then, you'll go back and sit down, huh? Here, just let me close the door. Now then, as I was saying,
Will you pay me if it's like I said?
All right. It's a deal. Now, what is it?
Well, I used to work in Mr. Wallace's insurance office. Mr. Wallace, who's Suzanne Barkley's uncle.
Yeah, I know. Now, what's the story?
Well, I used to work for Mr. Wallace, but the office manager said I couldn't chew gum. Can you imagine? He said it didn't look good to sit up in an office full of people chewing gum. I was chewing gum. Have you got any gum?
No. Let's have the story.
So, anyway, they said I'd have to quit chewing gum or quit my job. So I did. And you know what I did? I went right down on the 18th floor, and I got myself another job, and I'm still working there.
You're not working for Wallace now.
No, but I got a job in the same building. I can type 65 words a minute. If a person can type 65 words a minute, he can always get a job. I make more money where I work now, too. I get a lot of overtime.
Well, what about it?
Because it's important. I worked overtime today. I didn't leave the building till almost 6. Oh, I better tell you this, too. I heard Mr. Perry Mason had Suzanne's mother pretend to die in an accident. Everybody was talking about it. Some of the girls were sorry because Mr. Mason's trick didn't work. I mean, because it didn't make Suzanne come home. I wonder why she ran away. Gee, she had everything, and she was so nice, I will say that for her. I mean, when she used to come in her uncle's office when I was working there, she was always nice, and she wasn't stuck up at all. Not like some girls who... Well, anyway.
I'm very sorry, miss, but I couldn't give you a plug nickel
I haven't told you yet.
Oh, you haven't?
I said I had to explain this first.
You want some black coffee?
No, thank you. Sure you haven't got a piece of gum?
I'm positive. Absolutely positive. You'll excuse me while I have some black coffee?
Oh, sure. That's like in the movies.
What?
I saw a movie once where the editor drank coffee out of a cardboard carton. Now, where was I? Oh, well, I worked late, like I said. But I kept thinking about Suzanne and how she ran away and all, and how Mr. Mason's trick didn't make her come back. And, well, I just put on my coat and hat. After I finished the letters, Mr. Milliken asked me to type, and I got in the elevator and I went downstairs. Have you ever been in the Wallace building?
Yeah.
Well, it's on the corner. There's a lobby entrance on 48th and one on the avenue.
I'm terribly sorry, Miss Watson. Everything you said is chock full of news value,
but I haven't told you about seeing Suzanne.
You come back and tell my secretary all about... What did you say?
I saw Suzanne Barkley. Just as I was going out the 48th Street entrance, I looked behind me, and I saw her coming in the avenue entrance.
You were mistaken.
No, I wasn't. I recognized it.
The light was bad. You saw a girl who looked
No, sirree. I saw her 100 times when I worked in Mr. Wallace's office. I was so surprised at first I didn't even speak to her. And by then the doors were closed and locked. They lock automatically at 6 o'clock.
Now, wait. You positive you saw Suzanne Barkley?
Yeah.
Now, be sure. You've got to be sure.
I cannot be any more positive than I am.
Oh, baby.
You gonna give me $100?
Huh? Sweetie, I'm going to give you $100 and the biggest pack of bubble gum in town.
Arch Kerner is a brilliant newspaper man. But first, last, and all the time, he is a newspaper man. Now he's a newspaper man with an exclusive, exciting story. You know there'll be important and exciting developments in the immediate future. So, by all means, join us tomorrow, won't you? It's almost midnight, sometime after the close of our last episode. As at the Barclay estate, Perry Mason confers with Suzanne Barclay's uncle. Private Operative Paul Drake and Police Lieutenant Halverson double-check the guard protecting Suzanne Barclay. Now, a moment later, as Mason and Della leave...
Oh, it's a beautiful night. Perry, can we stop for a hamburger on the way home? Hamburger with pickles and mustard and tomato and onion. Ooh. Hey, look, that car is stopping here. It's the district attorney. Perry, I thought you asked Halverson not to tell the DA.
Hello, Mason. Hello, Miss Street.
Hello, Mr. Act.
Am I too late, Mason?
For what?
To accompany the police when we arrest that member of the combination Miss Barclay can identify. I'm not too late, am I? Is he under arrest?
Not yet.
Oh, but you've made all arrangements, huh?
Everything possible.
Oh, then I'm just in time.
Plenty of time.
What?
I say there's plenty of time.
But very well, if you say so. After today, I'm inclined to accept your judgment, Mason. I have to hand it to you. But I don't mind saying I was disappointed when you didn't include me in your plans. However, you were successful. You brought the girl out of hiding, and that's the important thing. I congratulate you, Mason. I mean it.
Well, thanks.
Say, who is Gus, Mason?
You know as much as I do.
What? Oh, I haven't talked with Suzanne Barclay.
Neither have I.
You haven't? Why?
Suzanne's mother and her uncle refused to let her be questioned tonight.
Why, Mason?
Well, Suzanne fainted when she learned that her mother is alive and well.
Her mother says Suzanne's too upset and nervous to be questioned tonight.
But just one question, just the identity of Gus.
Her uncle refused flatly, and I couldn't force the issue tonight. I was going to phone your office and suggest we get a court order tomorrow morning in case they still refuse to, What is it, Aunt?
Well, knowing you, I know you did what you could to keep her return a secret, but there's a leak.
A rumor?
Worse than that. I got a tip the Daily Blade is carrying the story of her return in the early edition.
What?
That edition's on the street by now. Gus will see that story,
Well,
Mason.
maybe he won't.
He'll see it. At least we have to figure that way, right, Mason?
Yes.
How did the Blade learn?
Well, how they did doesn't matter. Look, Aunt, Lieutenant Halverson is on the east side of the house. Tell him what has happened. Ask him to alert a squad of men for immediate action.
All right.
And stand by while I talk to Suzanne Barclay.
Meanwhile, miles away in the secret garage of J.T. Doherty's auto theft syndicate, Albert Dallow, boss mechanic, listens to the engine of an expensive foreign sports car.
Hey, Mr. Dallow.
Don't bother me. I'm tuning up Mr. Jansen's car.
Telephone.
Huh? Oh, okay. Hello?
Gus Jansen, Albert.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Jansen. I'm awful sorry your car ain't ready, but I installed 2 more carburetors. I'm almost done, Mr. Jansen. It sounds good. Runs sweet.
Oh, good.
I'll bring it to your apartment in a few minutes, as soon as I check it out.
Well, there's no hurry, Albert. Take your time.
Huh? I thought you was going to Smithville.
Yeah, I am. There's plenty of time.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't hold you up.
You didn't hold me up. I had an engagement.
Yeah? With the redhead, Mr. Jansen?
Well, no, Albert, not this evening. Kate Beekman is busy this evening. How's the shipment of cars coming?
Boys will have 'em out by morning.
Oh, that'll make J.T. happy. Tell him hello for me.
Mr. Doherty's out of town. Won't you come back before the boss comes back?
You never can tell about it. Well, hold him in the road, Albert.
Okay, Mr. Jansen.
Right.
Mr. Jansen, how'd we come out?
What?
On a 5th race today.
Oh, you have a bet?
Did I? You'll give me the tip, so sure I played it. I put down every nickel I got. You know how I come out, Mr. Jansen? I ain't had time to check.
Well, I bought a late paper. I'll check for you. What was the horse?
A surprise party in the 5th race.
Okay. Wait till I unfold the paper.
If the odds held up at post time, I stand to make a killing. Can't you find the paper, Mr. Jansen?
Yeah, I found it.
How about the race?
Hey, wait a minute.
You okay, Mr. Jansen?
Look, I made a change in plans, Albert. I want you to do something for me. Now, listen carefully.
Okay, but take it slow so I don't get mixed up.
Now, do just as I tell you. You know the safe in the garage office?
Yeah, it's over behind the filing cabinet.
You know the combination?
No, sir.
Well, here it is. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Clear the dial. Then right 32. Left 18. Complete revolution right. And 16 right.
16. Right.
Then left 41. Have you got that?
Yeah.
You'll find a manila envelope in the little drawer. It's marked currency. Bring me that envelope.
To your apartment, Mr. Jansen?
No, in the restaurant across the street. I'll be in the office.
The office?
I bought the place a couple of weeks ago. Now, look, you got it straight.
I can remember what you told me, Mr. Jansen.
All right. Now bring me that dough and don't stop for anything.
Okay. It's all right, ain't it?
What?
Oh, Mr. Doherty told me not to touch the safe.
Of course it's all right. Now do what I tell you.
Yes, sir. Oh, what about the race, Mr. Jansen?
The race? Oh, yeah, you lost.
Huh?
Surprise party ran last.
Now, Mr. Jansen, you'll give me the tip.
All right, Albert. I'll see you get your dough back.
Oh, will you, Mr. Jansen? Gee, that's awful nice of you.
Now shut up and bring me that dough.
Wonder how come Mr. Jansen changed his mind. Wonder how come he wants dough. Hey, maybe Mr. Jansen wants the dough to give me my dough back. I played 500 on the race, but Mr. Jansen don't know that. I could tell him I lost 600 or 800, or even $1,000. Yeah, Mr. Jansen wouldn't know the difference. Yeah, I ain't smart, but I get a few ideas. Yeah. Set in a little drawer. Yeah. Here's the envelope. Currency. Feels heavy. Hey, if this is dough. Hey, there's more than 100 G's. $100,000. Am I going to tell him my loss?
Hello, Albert.
Mr. Doherty. Gee, I'm glad to see you back, Mr. Doherty.
Oh, yeah? What are you doing in the safe?
Oh, it's okay, Mr. Doherty. Mr. Jansen told me to get...
Yeah? Where is all this?
Well, across the street from his place.
Oh.
Mr. Jansen's going to Smithville. Only there's a change. I mean, he's still going to Smithville, but he wants me to bring him this before he goes.
This, recent change?
Yes, sir. I just talked to him on the phone.
I don't suppose he told you what caused the change?
No, sir.
And you haven't seen the paper?
No, sir. Well, I know what's in the paper. My horse ran last.
What?
Surprise party. I had I had 1,000 down on surprise party in a 5th race. Only surprise party ran last. Well, Mr. Jansen's going to make it up to me. He gave me the tip.
That's nice of him.
Yeah, I think so, too. Well, I better get going to Mr. Jansen. He's in a hurry.
Yeah, naturally. All right, I'll go with you.
You?
And I'll take the envelope. Give it to me.
Yes, sir, yes. You ready to go now, Mr. Doherty?
Yeah. Let's go, Albert.
Yes, sir. I'll get Mr. Jansen's car. Mr. Jansen's going to be awful surprised to see you, Mr. Doherty. He's going to be awful surprised.
J.T. Doherty, crime boss, feels himself threatened because Gus Jansen is threatened with exposure. You know how J.T. could remove the threat to himself. You know what could happen. But, well, by all means, hear tomorrow's important and exciting development.